states they are used to express the operators that form measurement operator. So we got things like I'd say measurement state and unconditional post-measurement state. These are here and some. So before usual unitary evolution, maybe I will just discuss a number of examples. So maybe we've already discussed how to introduce a measurement operator that describes the absorption of the photon after measurement. And let me discuss the first, maybe the simplest thing, how to introduce the probability operators that describes a number of outcomes which is larger than the dimension of the hyperspace. And let's suppose that we have hyperspace equals 2, so we are talking about a qubit. And also let me introduce the states which looks like cosine pi divided by r. So we have two coordinates equally spaced unit circle. Sorry. Runs from 0 to n minus 1. These are normalized states, right? So I want to use them in order to produce things like this, say, and I'm interested, can I describe the probability operator using these states? These are non-orthogonal states. They are linearly dependent. It's more than two. So, so it looks like projector, but it can be projector because actually, if I try to find the sum, I won't get the unity matrix, right? My hope is that I could find the coefficient alpha in order to get the unity. So the length of, otherwise I can say psi I, and type I. So I have to change the length of I. So an interesting thing, is it possible to do? And how can I find this coefficient alpha? If it is possible. So, as a matter of fact, this is actually an exercise. And the answer to this question is if everything is okay, then I will get things like, let's see, and I can correct this projector in order to get unity matrix on the right side. And this is the only thing we should check. Actually, everything reduces to computing the projectors and the corresponding sounds, right? Okay, so if I do this, let's, what will happen? So I will get cosine squared, the coefficient.
There must be a -1, I guess, in this sum. Yep.
Right.
In the last sum.
-1, yes.
Yeah.
Upper.
And -1.
Yes, yes. And so diagonal things look like and we will have other two operators, unit rank operators, that are proportional to the product of cosine and sine. So what I need to do is to compute the sums. So the sum of the three sums right here. So actually, this is nothing but 1/2 and here is 1/2. And this is 1/2 minus, sorry, cosine. So far, so good. So you have to check that these sums of cosine and sine sines adds to 0. So it's more or less clear why. The hint is to, let's take a look at such kind of sum. So this is geometric progression, and the sum is well known. Counter 2 and 2 equals so the result actually is things like this, and it's obviously 0. Why? Just because 2 power n equals unity. So this is unity. So we've got 0, and actually I may, if I want the result for cosine and sine, I will get real parts and imaginary parts of this function. And that's it, right? So, just details you can insert maybe one or two formulas, and the result will be so this sum will be 0 and similarly 0 here. So what remains is 1/2, and this projector plus this projector gives unity matrix. So the result will be so and actually I will get very simple result that alpha equals 2 divided by the number of the states. So if, for example, if you have 5 states, then the coefficient will be 2 divided by 5. Right. So not surprisingly, it's less than unity. So it can be larger than unity. So actually you get things like of course. And this is the case when we don't have projectors, but Actually, you've got this probability operator that's proportional to the vectors. Okay, so this is illustrates the idea. How such kind of operator can be introduced. An interesting thing, what about the relation between measurement operators and probability operators, right? So actually, yes, linear algebra, that any operator A can be written in nothing about. We have already discussed such kind of operators, right? U is a unitary. So this is a so-called polar decomposition. So I'll just write down the arbitrary operator as a product of two operators. One of them unitary, and the other is positive or negative, right? So this is this operator actually, of course, is Hermitian, and this operator is also positive, non-negative, positive semi-definite, right? So this is a polar decomposition. So if I consider polar decomposition for measurement operators, right? So actually, if I apply this result to measurement operator, I will get things like so the difference between measurement operator, right? Actually, of course, it will give me so if I know probability operator, so I have defined the probability operator, then the measurement operator are determined up to the arbitrary unitary operator. So unitary operator, actually, this is something that tells us what happened to the state after the measurement. So, I have to describe this, what happened by hand. So, or I know this by solving the dynamic problem. Anyway, sometimes it's enough to know the probability operator if I discard the system after measurement. I perform the measurement, I know the outcome, and I'm not interested in the state in the post-measurement state of this system. So I discard the system, and everything I want to know is the outcome. It is the scenario. For example, we have already discussed the Kosmos. We got the ancilla that I use as a pointer system. So I somehow manage to say to add to enlarge my system, to add this pointer system, and the system and the pointer system interact, and after that I perform the measurements on the pointer system. And actually I'm not interested in the state of the pointer system, because I want to get some information about my system. And that's why. For example, let me be a bit more explicit about this, right? For example, you've got things like, I would say, you've got row AB. This is a density matrix described in our composite system. A is our system, B is a pointer system, right? So this, ancilla. Pointer system. So, I will perform objective measurements. So, for example, I would get something I is just so the question is, what is what happened to our system, to our state after performing the measurement? Maybe I would be interested in the unconditional state. So, so actually, we know this. And that's clearly something which is, we've got this. Sorry. Or something. So what this? This is a normalized state, right? So if I compute, let's say, this is a trace. So this is an operator acting in the subspace A. So it no longer depends on the, this is no longer operator that acts in the composite state. There's an operator which is defined on the state A only, because these are, once again, actually these are the states in HB. So this is a partial scalar product. Right. So if I trace find a trace, I will get probability to get it. This is anomalized state because tracing. So actually it's nothing but, let's say, I. So this is a conditional state. This is a conditional state after performing the measurement, when I know the outcome. So, unconditional state actually is nothing but a statistical mixture of conditional states. The conditional state, you've got the part which describes the A system. So, so actually it is a product. So the matrix is now the product of two density matrices. One of them describes the A part, the other describes the B part. Right. So, but an interesting thing. So for now, it looks like we perform measurements, like we know the result, and the result is written in the register. So it can be regarded as a register that contains information about the outcome, right? But if I'm not interested in the state of system B, so I have to trace out. So if this is tracing out, means that I have to, after tracing out, this state will disappear. Right. So when I do this, once again. So I will get things like tracing B forward.
Alexey Denislavovich, I got a question. So here we got marginal distribution, marginal probability distribution, since we trace out the A system. Yeah, I mean this.
No, you know, we perform measurements only on B part.
B part, yeah.
So this is just the probability to get outcome I after the measurement.
The B system takes.
But I have done nothing on the A part.
Yeah.
So the only, so we are talking about marginal distributions only if we have several random variables, or at least two measurements. So we've got one describing the measurement on A part and the other on B part. So actually it is marginal measurement when we consider the situations that A part also can be measured. But for now, I am describing this case when only B part is measured. Okay, so we will get things like this. So this is nothing but trace on ED. Right? This is just a reduced matrix, density matrix. So the reduction of density matrix can be described just perform measurements on part B, and actually I don't know the result, right? And after that I just disregard the part B. So I'm not interested in the stage of part B. So it means that I'll trace out. I have traced out the 1B system, and not surprisingly, I will get only the reduced matrix as a post-measurement state. So the reduced matrix appears can also be treated as the state which we have after the B part was measured, and the information about the measurement was lost.
Alexey Denislavovich, how did we get this expression rho AB, and then we get unconditional post-measurement state that is written in this form?
This is unconditional.
Unconditional, yeah. How do we get this? I mean,
That's a born rules.
born rules.
That's we've already discussed this actually.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
This is a projective measurement. That's all. So these are projectors.
Trace of m times rho, which is
So in more general case, you may say that this is nothing but so I may a bit generalize the description actually, and of course it's not necessary really. For example, I may consider the operators generalized measurement performed on B, and actually the result will be, say, let's suppose we have got MB. Right. Sorry, and not MB. I will talk about probability operators, right? So we will get the same slide. And now, the generalized measurement performed what's the difference? I've just replaced the projector with the probability operator here. Right. So here I've got the trace out of the B. This is what should be written instead of this one. Right. and it is not necessary that we've got the projector here, but the projector can be somehow post-measurement states of describing the measurement of the system B. So actually it depends on the measurement operator.
So like the right side just says us that we measure B subsystem,
Yep.
and the left side just says that we also interested in B result, but it is about the first subsystem. I just try to understand what B trace.
Yeah. So actually, let's say. So this is the part what we got after measuring the B system, right? And it actually comes from the expression for the probability. If I trace out A, I will get the probability to get the outcome I. So if I want to normalize, once again, I have to divide by probability and multiply, right? So this is nothing but the post-measurement state for my system, and this part describes the state of the B system after the measurement. So after I've got the outcome I, but if I don't want to do anything about this with this part, I can forget about this. So and I'll get similar thing. So this result will be independent on the choice of whether we've got projective measurement or we've got this generalized measurement. Doesn't matter, just because the sum of these probability operator equals unity. So that's why. Okay. And and once again, it looks like we perform measurement, and this part somehow describes what happened to the A part, and this is just describe the state of B part. So once again, it looks like we perform measurement and we record the result into the state of the B system. So this is looks like a register or pointer, right? For example, we've got a particle which moved and we measured the position of particle, but we are no longer interested in this particle, so we forgot. After that, we can forget about the state of the particle, right? So we want to get the displacement and figure out the information from the displacement. But we are not very interested in manipulating the particle after that. But nevertheless, we will. This is just an introduction into that maybe underlines heuristics behind formal definitions when we can, when we deal with things like one of the subsystems describes a register, where we store the result of outcomes, and the other is for example, if Alice prepares the state let's say things like this, this is a probability. X is a random variable. So we've got the, statistical ensemble, and actually where each member is also described by the density matrix. So it's actually double statistical ensemble, because density matrix itself represents statistical ensemble of pure states. But the idea is, okay, we've got, for example, generating random numbers. We take a look at the results, and this generating random numbers is governed by the probability distributions, and depending on the number, I prepare the quantum state. But a modification of this could be what this implies, it implies that Alice performs measurements. She looks at the result of random generator of random numbers. So generating the random numbers can be regarded as a measurement. So just perform something which produces a random outcome, and you register this random outcome. So actually, the generalized version of such a kind, if you want to register, you will get things like where these are orthonormal states, that's different x. Let's see.
Is we are registering
Yes.
this
We
outcome
store the
X.
result in the register. So this is a pure state. It serves as a register for the results of your measurement. Right. So
So here we've got the result X. Or
X, and result X just implies output of generating random numbers. X is just a random variable that describes the generator of random numbers, and it can be regarded as measurement. But actually it is a classical measurement, yes. And the classical measurement is described either by the probability function, by the probabilities, by usual standard probabilities. So it looks very similar to what we have already discussed when discussing the measurement on the pointer system on the oscilloscope. Okay, a bit for now, I'll get a bit more physical. For example, how we can prepare the correlated entangled systems. Another example, I will use this just briefly describe this. So let's forget. I want to understand how, for example, system like this so the idea is that we have initial system and I ask about Hamiltonian that do the task. So I have two qubits. One of the qubits is our system, right? And the other plays the role of one single. And this is a quantum state of I'm interested in, right? And so the point is what is it? You and psi 0.
So we some kind of solving the inverse task.
Yeah.
We've got the result and we want to know the
How
unitary.
I want to demonstrate that I can design the Hamiltonian so that the unitary evolution under the action of this Hamiltonian will provide the necessary result. So, okay. I will start from the answer. So I will do things like factory diagonal, right? And Hamiltonian will be I will get things like so this is not the sum of operators, each acting on the subsystem A and B, right? So you've got, this is a tensor product described, and actually it is nothing but the interaction, and H actually E at the moment T so you've got something like minus. That's good.
What is a G in this case? G is small.
Coupling constant. Not
Coupling constant.
So I don't need to suppose that the interaction of strengths is small. This is just exactly a solvable model, so I can compute the result of for these evolution operator exactly. Yes, that's the point. Actually, of course, this is another Hamiltonian. Right. So, okay. So the things I will do, the next I will get this. I will choose the time. Actually, of course, I cannot multiply by doesn't matter. Okay. And next I will minus I by 4. So if I know the result, it's not that big deal to compute everything I want to know. But as a matter of fact, I know that sigma z so I might simplify this. So I will get 0 right. The other thing I know is that unity we've got minus. So it looks like a controlled gate. So this is actually the physical realization of control gate. So when the qubit is 0, we will get this evolution operator, when the unit is the other evolution operator. And actually it means that the evolution operator acting on the B part will depend on the state of A part. And we will get things like so the only thing we have to check, but now we can easily compute. This is actually nothing but the rotation matrix. Rotation. So can be easily checked that 5 by 4 is nothing but rotation matrix and all rotations and actually I get things like this. So we'll get things like this. So what remains to check that this rotation matrix acting on this state will produce either 0 or 1 respectively. So
depends on the sign.
Yeah.
In the
So for our
exponential.
we can choose psi 0 in such a way that the action of this operator will produce 0, and the action of this operator, you produce. Okay. And that's it.
Alexey Yaroslavic, is plus minus sign outside the matrix over there or inside the matrix?
Inside it, plus minus
Okay.
on the non-diagonal elements. So this is a very simple illustration of general idea. We've got our system, we've got quantum system. These systems interact, and after that I will get entangled state. And what about this entangled state is that I can, for example, that the states are correlated here. So we've got either both 0 or both unity. And so I can measure the ancillary state is a qubit. It can be kind of different system. Let's say generalized case, and I would say we've got some system. And for example, observable, right? Arbitrary system. And the idea and Hamiltonian interaction Hamiltonian in a way such as
Psi capital is a particle.
yeah, this is a particle. Well, one dimension, for example, may think about, may be thought just like the one-dimensional wave packet. It's like this. And actually I can, for example, suppose that these observable contains with part of the Hamiltonian describing the A system and the particles. Actually, of course, we've got H0 may interacting with, say, HA. And what I'm assuming is that this observable and a Hamiltonian commute. So, for example, let's say that it's just to simplify the treatment. So, and actually I may try to get something. What will happen to this state under the action of evolution operator for such a system, quite similar to the previous part, right? And the result into the details might be left as an exercise, of, for example, Kиселев. So the initial state is separable as well, right? And the idea is that it transforms into the of course, we can generally will get these factors. It's not very interesting. But what is more interesting is that the shift this is actually because we have interaction Hamiltonian proportional to the momentum, and momentum is nothing but differentiation operator. So P will go things like and this will produce a translation of our wave function, but the idea very similar. We've got eigenvalue, we've got outcome A, and we've got delta x A, which is proportional to A. It's more or less clear. The reason why, of course, can be traced each A plus P minus I x P x. I just want to understand how this operator acts on one of these terms, right? And actually, because A like, and here are minus, I'm sorry, G, forgotten about G, minus G. But this is nothing but the operator which gives me this is equals to x minus G. Right. So the wave function describing the particle appears to be translated, and the displacement is proportional to the eigenvalue or to the outcome. So it looks very similar to here. It's a bit more general case, but the idea is is actually the same. And actually, what is left behind the scene is that we can't measure the x without errors, so the displacement with that accuracy of our measurements, and this accuracy is determined by the dispersion we can think about, for example, Gaussian backlight, and actually we have to somehow to minimize the errors. For example, if we got to, let's say, GT, I've forgotten about time, so the time will end here. All right, and we've got here as well. Because time evolution depends on time. So and the Hamiltonian multiplied by time and divided by time, constants. Okay, so the time should be chosen in such a way that the displacement is large enough, whereas the dispersion is minimal. And it can be done, actually, we can minimize the things. If you, for example, consider the special case one side describe the Gaussian state. But in general, we may say, okay, I've just arranged things in such a way and that this displacement can be detected within the accuracy of experiment. So we've got detected. This is the displacement is larger than the dispersion. So actually, the difference between different dispersions, yes. But this looks like a technical details, right? The only thing I just want to emphasize for now is that the general idea for the measurements. So you might try to do things like deal with sufficiently heavy particles. So we've got large, so these displacement will be small, for-such massive particles. Actually, of course, in that case, you will get the problem that you will need the method somehow to detect such small displacements. And this is something that happens when in a system which is built to register gravitational waves. Actually, we've got massive mirrors and sub-nanometer displacements. So the mirrors that weigh about tons and displacement about 10 power minus 10 meters, something like this. So it's extremely difficult task to do, but being done. And the general idea underlying such measurements are just like what we have discussed now. Okay. Another thing, an interesting thing, is about measurability, joint measurability of observables. So the third example describing the usefulness of idea of generalized measurements is as follows. But suppose we have this particle, right? And suppose we've got things like this moment, the states described by efficiency. We want to calculate it once again. No, this is not the case. So the states looks like Gaussian packets. And the packets are characterized by two things, the momentum and the location of the Gaussian packet. Okay. So, what I want to do, actually these are non-orthogonal states, right? So if I compute these scalar product for these states, so actually what is written here is a state written in the coordinate representation, right? You might somehow find that this is the nothing but something from the past.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, yes. So actually, it depends on the continuously varying variables, right? So right now I'm talking about continuous variable system. Okay. So our idea, what can be easily checked is that we can so I want to get things like unity, right? In order to get this, we will have to so question mark shows that you are to restore the tables. It's more or less clear, but nevertheless. Okay, because we've got the variables which are continuously varying, instead of summation, I will get integration. Right. So actually, this is nothing but and I have this is nothing but operator that describes the measurements. The result of measurements is position and momentum. So this is just describe joint measurements. And actually, it looks like project, but it is not a projector, right? Just because of this position. And actually, similar to our first example, we don't have, this is non-orthogonal states. So if I've got different values of xm and pm and multiply, I don't get 0. That's, so this is the price to pay, because I'm just talking about joint measurements of incompatible operators and joint measurement of position, of coordinate and the momentum, if you want speed at the same time. Actually, yes, real experimental practice shows that it's possible. So there are experiments where we just want to get information about both speed and the coordinate. For example, when you're analyzing the tracking Wilson camera. Okay, but once again, the price is that this is a generalized measurement. Actually, for example, what can be said about the distribution of, say, I would say density distribution for, say, the coordinates alone. Actually, this is nothing but what I'm talking about right now is a marginal distribution. Right. So the explicit expression will be something like, say, and things like so we see that price of that we have to pay as compared to the ideal measurement. For ideal measurement, I will get something like this one. So if this, for ideal measurement, I may assume that the projector describes something like this, right? But it will give me something like the result for ideal measurement. But I've got this Gaussian function that smear out the results. So it will produce additional errors. So we've got fluctuations, quantum fluctuation, and it depends on the quantum state. And this is a spread. And this describes the imperfection of our measurements, additional imperfections. And actually, it can be seen if I want to say something about the, let's say, dispersion of X, or sorry, example. This is nothing but dispersion of X. So this part is determined by the quantum state. So this is the dispersion calculated for the quantum state. And this is a additional noise. Looks a bit similar to excessive noise in continuous variable systems. Actually, they are of the same nature. So, so my question, how this relation can be seen from this? This formula can be used to compute the dispersion over X and outwards. So, as we have seen, that the price to pay when we measure incompatible variables is that I will get some additional noise. So I can, of course, I can measure coordinates and momentum, or if you want speed. But the price is that it will produce additional noise in my experimental results. So it will reduce accuracy of our measurements. But in principle, it can be no problem. So, and the other part of exercise is what about this is about the marginal distribution describing measurements of position of particle coordinates. This is about the marginal distribution when I want to measure momentum. So, okay.
Shall we take a break?
Yeah. Okay, well, presumably I have finished with these examples describing the generalized measurements, and maybe we'll move on to the next topic. So do you have questions about these examples?